Welcome to Powering Conversation with SP Energy Network. Today we are delighted to be joined by Ciera Campbell, head coach of Strathendrick's men's first 15 and second 15. Morning Ciera, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. When was the last time you were at BT Murrayfield?
When we brought about 150 kids here with the club back at the Six Nations.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, it was
A bit wild.
absolute chaos.
Should we head inside and we can have a bit of a chat?
Yeah, let's go.
I'm delighted to welcome Ciera Campbell to this week's episode of Powering Conversations with SP Energy Networks. Ciera is the coach of the first 15 and second 15 of Strathendrick men's team, which is pretty cool. You, I think, are one of the only female coaches coaching a men's team in Scotland at the minute.
Yeah, I think so.
So how, I guess, let's go back to the start. How did you get into coaching?
At the end of high school, I sort of wasn't really sure what I was wanting to do, and I heard there was an MA role going up with Balfour High School in Strathendrick, and I was asked if it was something I'd be interested in, and I sort of thought, could be fun for a year. So I decided to do it, and I just sort of did that for a year, and off the back of that I got asked if I wanted to do the community coach, which sort of helped me help strengthen the bond between the club and the school. And yeah, when I was doing that, I sort of got more into coaching with the midi teams, specifically the sort of under 16, under 18 boys teams, and then helped sort of start up the girls rugby team at the school as well. So that was sort of how it came about, I guess, the coaching side of it.
Yeah, and then you also play rugby, don't you?
Yeah.
So who do you play for, first of all?
Play for West of Scotland.
And how, I guess, did you get into playing?
I think, again, when I was at school, they were sort of trying to start up a girls' team at the school. And it was one of those things, I think, one of the PE teachers was quite pally with my dad, and my dad played quite a bit of rugby, so he kept sort of pestering me about, you should play. And it was something I was quite keen to try out anyway. So, I went along and sort of, they weren't really games, but the games that we did have, where it was like 5 or 6 aside and you were just sort of pulling players, were quite enjoyable. So I then just sort of left school. I didn't do it for a year when I was doing the MA, but then I picked it up again, a year later when I started at West, and so just sort of in school and then at the club afterwards. So
was it kind of, I guess, the love for rugby that I'm assuming you kind of developed through playing that kind of drove you to go into coaching?
I think so, yeah. I mean, from as far back as I can remember, I was toddling about the side of the pitch because, like I said, my dad used to play, and I'd be up at the rugby every Saturday, and I'd go watch games on a Sunday if there was any on for the school or anything. So I think I've always liked being about a rugby field. So I think when I did start playing, it was then sort of something that I maybe thought I would like to start trying to coach, but I wasn't really sure if it was what I wanted to do. But I thought I'd just try it out and see how it went.
Fair enough. It's gone quite well so far. So how did you kind of, I guess, transition from coaching middies and bits and bobs like that to ending up, obviously, where you are now, coaching a senior men's team?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, because at the start of last season, I was sort of trying to get a bit of fitness back because off season you tend to eat a bit more cake than you should, and things go to pot a wee bit. So I was trying to get a wee bit more fitness in. So I'd asked the coach at the time of the men's team if he would mind me sort of just doing pre-season with the guys. And he said to jump on down. So I did that, and the numbers weren't great. So there were some sessions that the coach wasn't really committing to because he didn't really want to show off there was only going to be 5 or 6 people. So I'd sort of said, instead of just playing touch for an hour, maybe just do something a wee bit more structured. We sort of started doing that, and then it sort of came to my attention that the coach was maybe thinking about leaving. And Duncan, who's the captain of Strathendrick, ended up phoning me and saying, I know you've sort of been about the senior squad and all that, but is coaching us something you might be interested in? although to be fair, the conversation wasn't quite like that, because I thought the way he was going with the conversation, he was asking me for a recommendation of people who might want to do it. So, but yeah, so he asked me if I wanted to do it, just because I'd been about, I knew like the guys in the squad, and I knew guys that weren't at the sessions and all that, to see if I could try and bring them back and all this. So yeah, that was sort of how that happened. I just sort of, I don't know,
what kind
showed
of
up.
Fair enough. What kind of, I guess, went through your mind at that point where you were obviously asked, but being a woman going in and working with male athletes is quite an intimidating prospect, particularly in a sport like rugby, which is so traditionally male dominated. What was going through your mind when you had to kind of process and make that decision?
I think if I'm being honest, I was quite hesitant to start with, only because I think, like you say, it is like mainly male in the sport, and you don't really hear of many females about it. And particularly at our club, we'd never had any females involved with the rugby at all, because we didn't have any girls section through mini or midi or anything until the last couple of years. So I was quite hesitant in that respect, because I would be the only female at the club to do it, and also because a few of the guys in the team were either my age or older than me. It was fairly, I sort of had it in my head that they'd be a bit off about me being the coach, just because, I don't know if it's just because I'm a girl or whatever, but yeah, I just had it in my head that, you know, they might not think it was a good thing.
Yeah.
And I did say that to Duncan at the time. I said on the phone, I don't think some of the guys will take it very well. And he was like, oh, you know, that's their issue. I'm sure they'll get over it, because if you coach a session and, you know, you do it well, then they've got no reason to have anything against it. So yeah, just prepared like mad for the first one, and then it went all right, and after that it seems to have gone all right so far. So
are you glad that you kind of took the step and took the job?
Yeah, I actually really enjoy it, to be fair. And the last sort of, 10 months or so have been, it's been really enjoyable, sort of just building the numbers back up and a bit of momentum about the club. So yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
What part of like the coaching process do you enjoy the most? Is it like thinking about what the session should include, or is it actually just like seeing them put it into practice in the pitch? Or like for you, what's like the bit that gives you the most satisfaction?
I think it's sort of a bit of both, to be honest, but I think seeing what you do at training and then seeing how that transfers onto the pitch, and maybe seeing things, okay, well, it maybe didn't work well this way, but we can maybe try it a different way next time. And just sort of, I guess I quite enjoy all of it, to be fair. Boss people around as well, it's not a bad thing. But no, I quite enjoy all of it.
That's cool. Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, I guess, like, what do you find is maybe like the biggest challenge for you as a coach, or one of the biggest challenges you've had to face?
I think confidence is quite a big thing, because I'm not the most outgoing or confident person anyway. So I think that's been a big thing, is trying to sort of build on that a wee bit. And I think as well, also trying to sort of break the barrier of females don't do coaching, because I've had a few instances in the past where a couple of referees, for example, will call me sweetheart or honey or all this, and you're just like, you would, if it was a man, you'd be calling them coach in front of their players and all this. You wouldn't be sort of calling them sweetheart or honey, or, you know, talking 100%. Down to them a wee bit. So it's just sort of trying to earn a bit of respect from, you know, I guess, males in the industry, I guess.
How, like, do you actually manage those situations? So, like, I know, like, we spoke before and you said that actually the men that you coach are all quite respectful of you and show you a lot of respect. But in those situations where people don't necessarily know you and you get comments like that, how do you deal with it, and how do you kind of earn that respect? Or is that still like a work in progress? That's still a
work in progress, to be honest. I think the couple of times that has happened so far, I have just sort of looked at them and then I've walked away or whatever, just to show that I wasn't terribly pleased with it. But I maybe could have handled it a wee bit better. But I'm
it's
still
like one of those situations where you leave and you think of what you should have said, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I guess, like, off the back of that, like, how do you think we, within Scotland but also within rugby, like, progress that situation to have more respect for female coaches? Do you think the answer is we just need more of them, or...?
Yeah, I think so. I think the way it's going at the moment, people are, like, grassroots all the way up to sort of professional level, they're trying to get, you know, more females involved across the board, and they're trying to sort of, whether that's in sort of a coaching capacity or just sort of, you know, volunteering in different ways about the club. So I think it's sort of going in the right way. It's just sort of getting it about more clubs, because I think some clubs are still predominantly just males running it and males doing this, that and the next thing. So yeah, I think it's getting more females involved, and that'll eventually hopefully lead to a bit more respect for women across the game, I guess.
Have you, like, as you've come through, had any like role models to look up to within the game that might be female, or it could also be male for that matter? But
I think when I was at high school, there was a female PE teacher who was a rugby player for Stirling County, and I don't think I'd actually ever heard of a female rugby player before her. So yeah, when I was sort of speaking to her and she was saying how great it was and all this, and just seeing how, because she used to come out and like train with us doing sessions and all this, and just everybody always just looked up to her, because we thought, you know, that's who we want to be, because she was so committed, and the way she talked to rugby, she just had such a love of the game, and all of us Irish members thinking, you know, that's who we want to be when we sort of grow up. We want to have that confidence, be that good at the game, and yeah, it was just, I think she was sort of the person that we all aspired to be, I guess.
Yeah.
So
how does it make you feel now that, like, you talk about someone like that like you aspired to be and that inspired you? Like, obviously this last couple of years you've had nominations for awards around, I think, what was it, the Inspirational and Committed Efforts in Coaching was one of the awards you were nominated for, and Young Person's Award for community recognition and stuff like that. Like, now you're that person for other people. Like, how does that make you feel?
I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest.
That's probably why you're so good at it.
But no, it's quite good to sort of think that, you know, if I'm going into primary schools and delivering sessions or whatever, because I still occasionally do that, you know, there might be girls that sort of think, oh, you know what, if she can do it, why can't we, type thing, and 100%. It might hopefully have an impact on maybe one or two.
Definitely will have an impact.
Yeah, it's quite a nice thought, but I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest.
And then I guess from like your perspective, what's next for you in terms of, obviously at the minute you're really committed to your role that you're in, but have you got aspirations beyond that within coaching?
I think in the future I'd definitely like to do a bit more of it. I don't really know in what capacity right enough, but at the moment I'm just quite enjoying what I'm doing, and then hopefully working towards getting my level 3 coaching, and then see if anything else comes after doing that. But at the moment I'm quite happy just going with the flow, I guess.
I mean, I'm sure there will be many opportunities come up from that. I've just got two final questions actually. What would you say to someone who's thinking of getting, a female who's thinking of getting into coaching? Like, what would be, I guess, like what you've taken from it? Why would you encourage women to get involved in coaching?
I think it's just something that's really good to be a part of. And I mean, you don't have to have, you know, all the rugby knowledge in the world, because I certainly don't. I know nothing about backs, for example. But
neither do I.
I think it's just sort of go and get involved, suck up as not much knowledge as you're sort of able to, because I think anywhere you go in the world, if there's a rugby club, you'll meet friends, you'll be 100%. Welcomed in with open arms, and you know you'll have teammates across the world for life. So I think if you are able to get involved, I would definitely suggest, you know, going to your local club and just seeing if you can get involved in some way, because it's definitely it's a good thing to be a part of, I think. So yeah.
And then my final question isn't something we ask everyone, is if you could give yourself some advice, I guess at the start of your career or as a young girl coming through, what would it be?
I think I'd go back to confidence, have a wee bit more confidence in yourself, because I definitely was quite guilty at the start of just sitting back and letting everybody else sort of do the coaching, and I would just sort of stand and not really say anything. And it wasn't until you know, other coaches maybe stepped back and said, no, you take this, you do that I actually sort of came into my own a bit. So I think having a bit more confidence and just, like I said, getting as much knowledge as you can, doing different coaching courses, or even just watching games, go along to, like, see you guys play on the international stage or whatever. But just watch as much as you can, whether that's different coaches or games or whatever, and just enjoy it, I guess.
Definitely, couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much for chatting to me today, and giving us a little bit of an insight into your story. It sounds like it is going very well, but I have no doubt that you'll have many more exciting opportunities in the future.
Thank you for having me.